What is going on, people? Welcome to another episode of The Fragrant Life. My name is Keith, and in this video, I'm just going to talk about fragrance houses or fragrance brands that the term or phrase, I just want to smell good, can be associated with. I picked 10 brands, 10 fragrance brands from my personal collection that I consider to be price appropriate, and for those who just want to smell good. That phrase or term has been used by people who just don't want to spend the money for the niche or higher end designer brand fragrances. I was in that space at one point in time myself. I did venture out of that. I did have a pretty extensive niche collection at one time. I've since then sold off a lot of that stuff because clone house brands, in my personal opinion, are doing a hell of a job when it comes to cloning fragrances. And not only that, I've used brands like Lux SB and Royalty Scents, which will all be linked in the description. So make sure you check that out also at the end of the video. I've used those two decanting subscription sites to get my nose on Parfums de Marly fragrances, to get my nose on Creed fragrances and other brands that are out of reach in most cases when it comes to people who are frugal or just don't have the means or just don't want to spend that kind of money on high-end fragrances. So these 10 fragrance brands I consider to be, I just want to smell good, appropriate as far as price, and just wanting something to grab and go. So first up, I'm going to talk about the House of Guess. And I'm not personally a huge Guess fan, even with fragrances. I didn't even wear Guess clothing, and not because I hated the brand or anything. When I was growing up, I just didn't have a lot. I did work when I was old enough to work, so I had my own money. But before that, my parents, they bought us what we needed, not what we wanted. So when everybody else was rocking Jordans, I just had regular Nikes. I just had regular basic sneakers. So the House of Guess, guys, and I just used this one because it's the first one I saw that I had in the box. I don't have a lot of Guess fragrances. I just specifically like this one. But just about any fragrance from the House of Guess will suffice if you just simply want to smell good without breaking the bank. So in at number 10, the House of Guess. And just to let you know, I'm not going to go into any note breakdowns when it comes to these fragrances. I just grabbed these because these are the brands that I'm going with, and I just wanted to show you the brands. I don't want to go into in-depth detail about them. If you want to see in-depth detail, I'll try to link some of these videos, if I have them, to this video. So, all right, so in at number 9, and I also want to say these are not in any specific order on this list. I'm just grabbing and going. So in at number 9, the House of Lacoste, guys. Any fragrance just about from the House of Lacoste will suffice when it comes to just wanting to smell good. I chose this one because this is the first thing I saw from the House of Lacoste in my collection. I have a few, but fragrances like this one are just basic scents. This one is green. It's a little fresh. I believe it has some citrus in it also. But if you just want to smell good, find something from the House of Lacoste. They're pretty inexpensive. Depending on where you get them from, you won't pay no more than 20, 25, maybe 30 bucks depending. But I wouldn't pay any more than 25. So, in at number 9, the House of Lacoste. In at number 8, just about any fragrance from English Laundry will suffice. Now, I know there are a lot of people out there who don't like certain fragrances, especially from English Laundry. Some of them smell synthetic. I wasn't a huge fan, I believe, of Signature, and there was one other one that kind of smelled similar to Signature, but I didn't care for those. I did have just about every fragrance from English Laundry, but after a while, I started growing out of them because I realized that most of these fragrances were clones of other fragrances that I already had. So it made no sense for me to have a lot of fragrances that were already in my collection over and over and over again. But I just chose Cambridge Night because it was the first one I saw. I have a couple from English Laundry, but just about any fragrance from English Laundry will suffice. These are very inexpensive. I can remember finding these for like $12.99. In some cases, you'll find them for $19.99. A few places I have seen them for about $24, $25, but definitely don't overpay for any English Laundry fragrance. You can find those little, I believe it's 30 ml 4-piece gift sets at times also, which makes great gifts for people. But the House of English Laundry, guys, at number 8. At number 7, a fragrance brand that gets a lot of hate. And I understand why. Sometimes the performance is underwhelming. But I've also learned that not every fragrance has to be long lasting or beast mode in performance. And the House of Calvin Klein is one of those houses. Just about any fragrance you can find from the House of Calvin Klein will suffice if you just want to smell good, guys. I'm not telling you to run out and get these fragrances because a lot of them are underwhelming. They're not anything special, especially this one. This is Eternity Now. This is just a basic, freshy, sweet. It smells good, but you probably won't stand out if that's something that you're looking for. In most cases, if you're in close quarters to some people, like an office space or a job where you're constantly around people, you're moving around and it's wafting in the air, somebody might take notice. But most times, Calvin Klein fragrances are not going to be anything that's going to stand out. So anything just about from the House of Calvin Klein will suffice, guys. In at number 6, I have a 2-piece here, and I brought 2 of these out because I actually love both of these fragrances personally. And I apologize because the writing on them is fading off. But the brand Duville, if you've ever seen these bottles before, these are very good fragrances. I love both of these. The blue, as you can see, which is this one, I love the most. You can see by the juice levels. The pour on version is more like a signature scent. I'm going to spray this one because I haven't worn this in a while. Very good fragrances, guys. These are very inexpensive. You can find these for maybe around $9.99 to about, $15, 20 at max. But yeah, Michael or Michelle Germain, however you pronounce it, but the House of Duville, guys, check it out. In at number 5, the House of Dunhill. Now, there are some Dunhill fragrances that do stand out. The Icon line is one of them. But I chose Dunhill Fresh because, like I said, this is the first one I saw when I was digging through my box. A little powdery, fresh, clean. One of those fragrances you use when you're fresh out of the shower or you just want to go to the gym or you're just running errands or something like that. But just about any fragrance from the Dunhill brand itself can be had if you just want to smell good, guys. There are a lot out there from the brand that are exceptional at times, but if you just want to smell good, like I just said, guys, try anything from just about anything from the Dunhill brand. In at number 4, the House of Azzaro. And I could have chose any fragrance, but being that I was just digging through this box and I have things that I don't have on my shelves, I chose Azzaro Pour On. But any fragrance from the House of Azzaro, with the exception of, what was it? Azzaro, I can't think of the name of it, but it was one of the more popular older ones. I can't think of the name of it right now. I do own it, but the House of Azaro has some pretty exceptional fragrances. Um, the Wanted line is pretty good also, but some of their older scents, more on the basic side. This is a barbershop kind of fragrance, very clean, barbershoppy, like you just got a fresh bald head or a fresh trim up, something like that. This is definitely something you want to look into. But the House of Azaro can also be considered a fragrance brand if you just want to smell good. In at number three, this house has a reputation for its highs and its lows. This brand is Hugo Boss. And no matter what iteration, what line you look at from Hugo Boss, there's always going to be something that's going to be just for you to smell good. This is the one that has that apple pie vibe, as everybody like to call it. Um, it's nothing standoutish about this specific fragrance, but it does smell good. So if you just, like I just said, want to smell good, try just about anything from Hugo Boss. Now they do have some that are a little bit more um, standoutish, if that's even a word. But for the most part, most fragrances you're gonna pick up, even from the line that has the fragrances like this. Some of these are pretty good also, but most times you're gonna get them and they're just gonna be okay scents. So in at number two or three, I should say, the house or brand of Hugo Boss. In at number two, now the House of Banana Republic, I've never really been a fan of as far as like its branding in the old days. I didn't even know that Banana Republic made fragrances until I got into the fragrance game. But once I did, uh, when I found the Icon line, now the Icon line to me is exceptional when it comes to just wanting to smell good. A lot of the fragrances in that line are very good. Some of them can be classified as just smell good type scents, because the ones like Vintage Green, there are a lot of other fragrances out there from other brands that smell similar to this Vintage Green one. Um, so just about any fragrance from Banana Republic, period, can be considered a just want to smell good style fragrance brand. Um, Oud Mosaic is one that stands out to me as far as being exceptional. But for the most part, they make pretty average, basic scents. So check out anything just about from the House of Banana Republic, guys. And I know at this point you're wondering what's number one. And like I said, this is not in any particular order, but I did save this one for last. The brand Cremo, or Cremo, or however you want to say it, because I know people get in comment sections and always want to correct you when you mispronunciate words and stuff like that. But I say Cremo. So just about any, because I've heard things about the Palo Santo, people don't like it. But I actually like it. It's a pretty decent scent. It's not nothing really that stands out, but fragrances like this one, Bergamot and Musk, which is clearly their take on a Creed Aventus style fragrance, but it's very good. As you can see, I've used quite a bit of it over time. But just about anything from the House of Cremo is just something for you to smell good. In certain situations, certain occasions, you can stand out depending on what you're wearing. Like this one, I've gotten plenty of compliments when it comes to Bergamot and Musk. But in at number one, the House of Cremo, guys, check them out. Price point on these fluctuates depending on where you get them from. These at one time were pretty cheap. Then they got up to about, I believe, $20. Not sure where they're listed at now. I don't see as many of these as I used to. And I wish when the craze was like super hyped for these fragrances, I was seeing them in heavy rotation and I just was overlooking them until they all were gone. And then now here and there you'll find one or two on a shelf somewhere, but I already have those. So, but in at number one, the House of Cremo, guys, check them out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this gave the people who don't know or didn't know about some of these brands another avenue to go down if you just want to smell good. I could have threw a whole bunch of other fragrances in there like Sea Salt and Fig from Kendrick Goods, which you can find at Old Navy. I could have threw Chic for Men in there from Carolina Herrera. I could have threw who else I could have thrown in there? I could have threw some Armand fragrances in there. It could have been a vast array of things I could have thrown on this list, but I chose these in specific. So if this is content that you like and you want to see more of, make sure you leave a comment down below and let me know. If you want to know a little bit more information about more of these fragrances, let me know in the comment section. We can also talk about it. And I'm out of here, guys. Here is to smelling great. Peace.